The views and opinions expressed by the guests, callers, and hosts on this and all Rense Radio Network programs do not necessarily reflect or agree with those of the network, its commercial sponsors, its radio station affiliates, or internet broadcast platforms. In these controversial times, we believe the First Amendment and freedom of the press are absolutely essential to the survival of our nation. Thank you. And now, enjoy the program.
Okay, welcome back. Okay, glad you're here. We have lots to talk about the next 3 hours. We're going to start things off with the brilliant Gerald Celente of Trends Research. Gerald is kind enough to spend an hour of his extremely precious time with us and all of you around the world once a month. Hello, Gerald. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jeff. It's always great being on with you.
Thank you, sir. Great things happening in our country's government. The GOP warns of an explosion if Obama rushes immigration executive action. You know, he's got this executive order dictatorial power granted to him by some ungodly source, and he's going to fix immigration with an EO, ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't miss it. Well, in case you did miss it, too. The GOP is warning him not to do it so fast. So what we're looking at here is immigration, quote, reform, one way or the other. Obama's thumbing his nose and giving his middle finger to the Congress and is just going to go ahead. He says, I don't need you people. Of course, never mind that there's nowhere in the Constitution that executive orders are not only identified but termed to be legal. So it's getting to be insane.
Well, it's illegal at every end. Now look at the wars that we're in now. When Congress isn't even
absolutely. Yep.
I mean, the United States is at war with Syria.
Yep.
And now, of course, since we've been saying since the beginning, when Obama made that speech a few months ago, why we're going back into Iraq. No, we're not going back into Iraq. We're going to go there to save them Yazidis on the mountain. You know what a Yazidi is?
Yeah,
You got them all around your neighborhood. You know. Yeah. Maybe a couple in your driveway.
I have some in my garage.
You got some in your garage.
Yeah.
Everybody has Yazidis.
That's right.
And as us being the United States of America, you know, this is a humanitarian mission. No, this isn't. We're not going back into Iraq. No. Oh, and those soldiers, they're advisors.
That's right.
You know, you remember that? That's old enough to remember Vietnam. That's all they had over there, too.
Just advisors. Yeah.
About 58,000 advisors got killed.
That's right.
Yeah, only about 250,000 plus wounded.
Or at least.
And, and millions of lives ruined, both here and the 3 million killed.
3 million dead in Vietnam.
By the advisors.
That's right.
So now, you're talking about executive order. The country is shot. Look at this election. It should be called a illegitimate election. Only 36% of the people voted?
Yeah, and that 36% returned 96% of the career criminals back to the Congress for 2 more years.
Yeah, throw out the bums, bring in the scums. Nothing changed.
Never. No, and by the way, General Dempsey today said, well, it just might have to be that we put boots on the ground back in Iraq. Never mind, as Gerald said, they're already there. But he's talking about GI, soldiers, heavy armor, the whole thing. That's what they're talking about. Dempsey said it today.
And then there was that the guy that should be brought up on war criminal charges, George W. Bush, for lying us into the war. He appears on CBS on Sunday with that little boy Schaefer, whatever his guy's name is, throwing softball. Schaefer, yeah. And he goes. Bush says that ISIS in Iraq is Al Qaeda plus. Hey, wait a minute. There was no Al Qaeda.
Al Qaeda plus.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
There was no Al Qaeda in Iraq.
Of course not. The guys
lied to us. You said that Saddam Hussein had ties to Al Qaeda. Yeah, Al Nusra, Al this and Al that. It's another lie. They're destroying the country in front of us. We just had an illegitimate election. 36% of the people voted. This is record breaking.
That's
the only time it was worse was like World War II when it just began, and it wasn't because people weren't interested in voting. It was because the war was on.
That's right. That's I didn't know that statistic. I hadn't heard it. That's pretty grim. That's life support, folks. That's IV drip time for this country. 36%. Wow.
36% of the people.
Wow.
And as you pointed out, 96% of them came back into office, the career politicians that is destroying America.
Well, people bitch and scream about the criminals in Washington, but they don't do anything about it. Those 36 who sent, I guess, their ballots streaming off to be corrupted and fixed are those who are invested in having the same criminals return. They must be.
Yep.
The rest of America, 2/3 of them, don't want them back in there, but won't get off their asses to go vote. I don't know. It's weird. It's
then,
weird.
On the economic front, because a lot of this ties back into it. And, I've been talking about this actually since June, and that's oil prices.
That's true. Yeah, they're down again, right?
They're getting creamed. Uh-huh. You're looking at West Texas is just it's at a 4-year low, and Brent crude. When I started talking about it, it hit a high in June of $115 a barrel. Mm-hmm. Because as you know, each night we do Trends in the News as part of the subscription.
That's great.
And I do oil prices, stock markets, and gold. And now we're talking about Brent crude being, remember, from $115 to $78.
Wow.
This is unprecedented.
Well, it hurts the ruble, and there are some who suggest that the oil manipulation and telling the Saudis to open the taps to flood the market to bring the prices down is designed to try to punish Vladimir
Putin. It's bigger than that, Jeff. It's bigger than I looked at that as well, and I've talked about that as a possibility, even on Russian television. Uh-huh. But it's bigger than that because you look at the data coming out of China. China was the super commodity buyer of the world.
Yeah.
And you're looking now, for example, at real estate, housing, and general real estate. It increased in 2013 by nearly 27% growth. This year, it's down already over 10%.
Wow.
Yeah, prices are down as well. Growth is down. Prices are down about 10% as well, 9%. And the bubble's much worse than that because it's not only that our data lies in this country, they lie even more over there. They don't have any checks. Well, we don't have checks and balances either, but they
they just make it up.
Yeah. I'll give you an example how it's made up here. You look at the numbers that come out with the employment numbers, and you saw the ones that just came out in the beginning of the month, and they show, for example, the increase in jobs. I love the name they give it to. They give the jobs. The hospitality sector.
What?
That means you're a waiter or a waitress or a bartender.
That's the new definition I see of working in a food service industry.
Right. Now, they've been showing...
They call it prostitution, too, couldn't they?
That's a service sector. the numbers that came out have been showing great
beginning
growth.
of the month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind the 95 million Americans who can't find work, who want to work. Never mind them.
The data came out 2 days ago from the restaurant industry that shows how the huge drop-off in the amount of people going out to eat each week. So who would I believe? I believe the Restaurant Association.
Well, I would take they're the men and women whose money is on the line.
Yeah. They have
Sure.
nothing to gain by saying that less people are going out and eating out.
But don't worry, Gerald. The official graph says 5.9% unemployment rate, a very low rate. Very
That's right,
healthy.
yeah.
It must be robust and healthy out there. No problems whatsoever. It's not just restaurants, folks. It's small business everywhere. The big box Walmart crush on Main Street America is all but complete. I see little businesses folding all the time. And the feds have regulated them, of course, to the point that they're all strangling. They can't exist. I don't know how anybody... entrepreneurship was a wonderful virtue of this republic for decades and decades, maybe a century. More. And now, who wants to be an entrepreneur when you get your ass kicked with so many regulations that you don't have a chance? You really don't.
Well, you're right. They deregulated the Robinson-Patman Act, Sherman Antitrust Act, the
Antitrust,
Clayton Antitrust Act.
40 years ago was an important concept. They've just mocked it.
It's gone.
They've gutted it.
And you know, I was talking, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, of course, who I respect more than anyone for economic and geopolitical insights. We had a lengthy conversation last night, and he said to me, Gerald, he said, look how quick all this changed.
Oh, yeah. No accident, that.
It just, in a blink of an eye, everything, from the land of opportunity, it's now gone to the land of multinationals. It's a multinational takeover.
You want to start a business up, mom and pop? Good luck. Good luck getting the money. Good luck getting the backing. And then you will be destroyed with regulatory and confiscatory taxes and all kinds of penalties just for being in business.
Yeah,
I'm not joking.
Yeah, I know. And who do they hurt? They hurt us with more property taxes, school taxes.
Yeah. I got an email question for you from a gentleman who has great respect for you and this program. His name is Tom Platt. He says, "Hi, Jeff. Thanks for all the great programs. Can you ask Gerald for me, please, about the real estate industry? I am a full-time realtor, and we are seeing a very disturbing trend. The trend we are seeing is that loans are very difficult to get for buyers. We've had 3 loans fall through on 3 different listings in the last 3 months. One of them happened today. I was speaking with a lender friend of mine, and he had one fall through today as well. His was a refi. We believe it is due to the very tight restrictions of the Dodd-Frank Act that has added or eventually will add 398 new regulations, just like what I was just talking about. It's as if they are trying to bring down the housing industry intentionally. Does Gerald have any thoughts on this? Thank you in advance, Tom."
Yes, because I know the local bankers. And the local bankers here tell me how difficult it is to abide by Dodd-Frank. And what the restrictions it has put upon them.
Yeah.
But it hasn't hurt the big banks. And then when you look at what's going on and you're seeing the facts, is that the big banks are doing most of the business. And they've gotten a lot bigger. They're too big to fail.
Yep.
So this is just what you were talking about with the mom and pops. This is another penalty that has been pushed upon the small banks. There was never any need for Dodd-Frank. All you had to do was bring back Glass-Steagall.
Yep.
So Dodd-Frank, and the other fact is